I took care of my husband for 7 years after his accident, but one day he stood up and walked away with another woman. They say real love is tested in pain. That loyalty is measured not in vows, but in what you do when the person you love is at their lowest. When everything breaks and you choose to stay anyway. I believed that. With my whole heart. The night it happened, it was raining hard. The kind of storm that makes the whole world feel like it's falling apart. I was setting the table for dinner. His plate was warm, his favorite wine breathing on the counter. I even lit a candle, we hadn't done that in a while. Then the phone rang. And everything after that became a blur I wish I could forget. The crash. The blood. The photos of his mangled car. The smell of antiseptic in the hospital hallway. And then the words from a surgeon who didn't even look me in the eye when he said it. He may never walk again. I should have fallen apart. But I didn't. I became steel. I quit my job. Broke our lease. Moved us closer to his rehab center. I sold everything I could. My gold necklace, my wedding dress, the piano my late mother left me. Anything to keep him afloat. I learned how to care for a broken man. How to lift his body without hurting him. How to clean him, change him, massage his legs every 2 hours to stop them from going stiff. I watched him cry in rage, insult me, apologize, then push me away again. And still I stayed. I stayed when he told me I looked tired. I stayed when he said I deserved better. I stayed when I didn't even recognize myself in the mirror. Because I believed it was just pain talking. I thought he hated the chair, not me. I thought we were surviving something together. But he wasn't just surviving. He was hiding. It started small. He'd ask me to wait outside during therapy sessions, saying it was humiliating for him. I understood. I told myself I would have done the same in his place. But then he stopped letting me schedule the appointments. Started locking the door when the therapist came by. He'd order things online. Dumbbells, weighted vests, supplements. I thought maybe it was just for his arms. But his body began changing. He looked stronger. Straighter. Too strong for someone who supposedly couldn't feel his legs. His shoulders sat higher. His voice firmer. There were days he seemed full of something I couldn't name, and I told myself that was hope. But it wasn't hope. It was calculation. And then that night, the night I came back early from the store, I noticed the silence. No sound from the TV. No wheelchair by the door. Just stillness. The kind that makes your heart race without warning. I called his name. No answer. I rushed through the hallway, panic setting in. Maybe he fell, maybe he hurt himself. But then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Even. Standing footsteps. I turned around. And there he was. My husband, the man I'd lifted, fed, defended, cried for, was standing fully clothed, bag packed, watching me like I was a stranger in his house. And the first thing he said? You weren't supposed to come back this early. I couldn't even speak. My breath caught. My legs felt like glass. You can walk. I whispered. He shrugged. For a while now. I tried to process it. A while. How long is a while? Months, he said. It just wasn't the right time to tell you. Then he looked at his phone. Come. A knock at the door. I opened it with hands still shaking. And there she was. A woman in red lipstick and silk, holding a travel bag. She smiled at me like she already knew who I was. Like I was the inconvenience. He walked to her, took her hand. She kissed his cheek. And then, in a voice I will never forget, he looked at me and said, She sees me as a man, not a burden. And just like that, they turned and walked out. No apology. No thank you. Not even a backward glance. But what he didn't know was that I had already started digging. And I had found something. A secret I wasn't supposed to see. Something that made me wonder. Was his accident really an accident at all? After he walked out that door, I didn't cry. Not at first. I stood there in the silence, staring at the empty space where his wheelchair used to be, where my life used to be. I thought about every bath I gave him. Every sleepless night spent adjusting his legs so he wouldn't cramp. Every time I whispered, I love you, we'll get through this, while he stared at the ceiling like he couldn't feel a thing. Turns out he could feel plenty. And not just his legs. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I used to feed him. I kept replaying everything, looking for signs. Did he flinch when I touched him? Did he hesitate when I kissed him? Why didn't I see it? The next morning, I opened the drawer where we kept our old paperwork. Insurance files, hospital receipts, therapy schedules. I don't know what I was looking for. Closure maybe. Something to explain why the man I broke my back to save walked out like I never mattered. And that's when I saw it. A folded sheet of paper tucked between the pages of an old therapy log. At first glance it looked like an itinerary. A hotel reservation, dated 2 years before the accident. His name was on it. And hers. At first I thought, no, maybe it's a business trip. Maybe it's innocent. But then I checked the location. A resort. Oceanfront. 2 guests. 1 king bed. And paid for with a credit card I never knew he had. I felt sick. My heart was pounding so hard it drowned out my thoughts. That woman, the one he walked out with, she wasn't someone he met during recovery. She wasn't his second chance. She was there long before I gave up everything to stay by his side. And suddenly, the accident didn't look like punishment. It looked like delay. I opened his old email account. The password hadn't changed. I don't know why. Maybe he never thought I'd go looking. That's when I found them. Photos. Messages. Voice notes. A full-blown relationship dating back at least 3 years before the crash. Pictures of them together in hotel lobbies. A video of her laughing in his lap, calling me the housewife. Emails where they mocked my routines. Called me too soft. Said I was comfortable and would never see it coming. Then I saw the one message that broke me. From her. She'll never leave you. She's the type to hold your hand if you were paralyzed. Lucky for us, she might have to. That message was dated 2 weeks before the accident. 2 weeks. I stared at the screen, mouth open, vision blurring, trying to process what that even meant. Was the accident just bad luck? Or had they planned something more? I didn't want to believe it. But something deep in my gut, the same gut that told me I was being lied to all these years, whispered that this wasn't just betrayal. This was betrayal with a blueprint. I thought I'd hit rock bottom when I saw the messages. But the worst thing about betrayal is that it never comes all at once. It leaks in, like poison, slow and silent, until everything inside you turns cold. I sat on the floor surrounded by printouts, receipts, emails. Every piece of evidence telling me my marriage had been a lie long before I ever rolled his wheelchair to a therapy session. But that one message, the one she sent before the crash, wouldn't leave me alone. She'll never leave you. She's the type to hold your hand if you were paralyzed. Lucky for us, she might have to. What did she mean by that? Lucky for us, she might have to. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I pulled out the accident report. I still had a copy. They gave it to me at the hospital, but I never really read it. Back then I was too busy holding on to hope, too busy praying he'd live. Now I read every word. Single car collision. Wet roads. Excessive speed. No brake marks. No other vehicles involved. But one detail caught my attention. Something I had skimmed over the first time. Witness statement from a local mechanic confirms the vehicle was towed in for brake issues a week before the accident. Owner was advised to replace the front brake pads immediately. No record of replacement found. Wait. He never told me the brakes were faulty. He said it was the rain. That the car just skidded. That he tried to brake but it was too late. But if he knew the brakes weren't working, and still drove that night. And then the question hit me like a punch in the chest. Was he trying to stage the accident? I went to the garage listed in the report. I told them I was his wife and needed clarification on his last visit. The old mechanic behind the desk remembered him immediately. He came in on a Thursday, he said, wiping his hands. Said his brakes were squeaking and pulling. I told him straight up, dangerous. I printed the replacement quote, told him to come back the next day. He never did. Was he alone? I asked. The man shook his head slowly. No. He had someone with him. Woman dressed sharp. Dark red lipstick. The kind of woman who doesn't wait in the car. Red lipstick. Like the woman who stood at my door and walked out with my husband like I never existed. I asked the mechanic if he still had the CCTV footage. He didn't, only kept 30 days worth. But he remembered her. Thought she was the wife, he said. They looked close. I thanked him and left. My heart was racing now. I wasn't just dealing with infidelity anymore. This wasn't just a betrayal of love. It was beginning to feel like a setup. Like they wanted me to become his caregiver. Like they knew I wouldn't leave. That I'd sacrifice everything. And while I pushed his chair and wiped his mouth and begged insurance to cover more sessions, they were planning something else. Something bigger. And that envelope he left on the counter? I hadn't opened it yet. My hands were trembling when I finally did. Inside was a copy of a life insurance policy, taken out 6 months before the accident. My name wasn't on it. Hers was. As the sole beneficiary. The life insurance policy was dated 6 months before the accident. 6 months. Long before the crash. Long before the hospital. Long before I gave up my life to become his shadow. And the beneficiary wasn't me, his wife of 10 years. It was her. The woman in silk. The woman with the red lipstick. The woman who stood at my front door while I was still wiping drool from his chin and warming his bathwater. Everything inside me went still. This wasn't a mistake. It was a blueprint. A plan. But what kind of man would stage a crash, fake a disability, and manipulate the woman who loved him most? A man who thought no one would ever question it. I dug deeper. I had to. I called the insurance company pretending to be him. I just needed a few security answers. The ones I still remembered because I helped him set up the account. And then came the second blow. There had been a payout. Not full but partial. A claim submitted after his first year of disability. He had declared he was permanently paralyzed and unable to earn a living. And they believed him. Because why wouldn't they? He had hospital records. Therapist signatures. Medical documents. Only, one of the doctors listed on the paperwork didn't exist. I searched the license number. Invalid. The address. A UPS mailbox. The signature. Forged. It was fraud. On a massive scale. They had staged the crash. Lied about his condition. Created fake medical files. And for 7 years he pretended to be broken. All while stealing from me from the system and preparing to disappear with her. He was never planning to recover. He was planning to escape. But what he didn't plan for was me. I collected everything, emails and photos. The forged signature. The payout records. I spoke with a fraud investigator. Quietly, carefully. And when I had enough, I walked into the insurance company and handed them a full folder. Evidence thick enough to put them both away. It didn't take long after that. They froze his accounts. Flagged their passports. And 3 days later, just as they were boarding a flight to start their new life in another country, he was arrested on the spot. Insurance fraud, forgery, conspiracy. And for her, aiding and abetting. They were handcuffed in front of news cameras. I watched it on TV. He looked up once into the lens and I swear he knew I was watching. And I smiled. Not out of spite. But because I finally understood that staying didn't make me weak. Caring for him didn't make me foolish. It made me loyal. It made me human. And in the end, the man who tried to vanish from the life we built, he lost everything. But me. I got my life back. I started again, small, quiet and peaceful. I sleep with the windows open now. I don't flinch when the phone rings. I play music again. And sometimes I even light a candle at dinner, just for me. Because this time, I'm the one who walked away.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories.